Ave Maria, this is Frosolanos in Burslem in Stoke-on-Trent with the next part of our blog on the history of the parish here. It's a very cold December morning here in Burslem, so if my voice shakes, it's because I'm so cold. Tell you a little bit about the parish here. The parish was founded in 1895, and it was founded from the nearby parish of Cobridge. Now, for the first decade or so, they didn't have a church, and Mass was held in the school, and the school went on fire some years ago and has since been demolished. Now, things took a good turn in 1908 because Father William Brown, later Monsignor Brown, from County Leitrim in Ireland, was appointed parish priest. Now, Father Brown had a dream. He had a dream to build a beautiful church for the honour and glory of God. He had a great love for the Holy Mass, and St. Joseph's Parish gave him the opportunity to build that beautiful church. In the 1920s, he had said he was going to build this church, and the design from Sidney Brocklesby was accepted as a design for the church. So in the 1920s, in the middle of the Depression, Father Brown went about fundraising to get funds for the church. And people were very generous in those days, and also not just generous with their money, but generous with their time, because a lot of local labour, especially bricklayers, very skilled bricklayers who were very experienced in building the chimneys for the local pot banks, were employed to help build this church. It's with Staffordshire brick. It's a special type of brick, as you can see from behind me. Beautiful brick. So the bricklayers were involved in building the church, and Father Brown himself, it wasn't unknown to see him roll up his sleeves and go out and join the lads on the building site to help build the church. And he gave them refreshments, tea and food during the day to help keep them going. So the church was opened in 1927, and for the next 40 years, until Father Brown basically ceased to be parish priest here when he died in 1956, he continued to decorate the church. We'll see the inside of the church in a few minutes, so you can see exactly what he did to decorate it. But the people were very generous as well in providing funds to buy things like the pulpit and the altar, which he had to get from Italy. Father Brown, he was a very practical man, as I've said. I mean, he built the church, but he was also a very holy, sort of saintly man, and people still talk about how generous he was to the people here and how zealous he was for souls. He was very insistent on people going to Mass every Sunday, and if he found you'd miss Mass, well then you knew all about it. He would have a few words with you. And as well as that, he liked temperance. And if some of the parishioners, shall we say, overstayed their sojourn in the local public house, well, the public, he didn't call the police. He got Father Brown, and Father Brown got them back to their family. So he was a very holy priest, as we said, and he died in 1956, and his funeral was one of the largest ever seen in the town. Just one other thing to say about Father Brown: during the war, this part of England was bombed heavily by German bombers, and Father Brown made a promise to God that if the church remained unharmed by the German bombs, he'd say a rosary and have benediction in the church every evening during the war. So he continued to have the rosary and the benediction every evening in the church during the war, and the church suffered no damage. And as well as that, parishioners were very good. They kept watch for fires 24 hours a day around the church grounds. So without any further ado, let's go inside and have a look at the inside of the church. Ave Maria. We are now inside St. Joseph's Church. We're in front of the main altar here beside me. The main altar is beautiful marble and a matching altar rail and an altar gate here, solid brass altar gate. And the walls, that you see here behind the altar, the green walls, that's green Connemara marble from the west of Ireland. This altar here shows some beautiful stained glass and also a painting on the top. Now, just a little bit about the stained glass, because the stained glass here, there's I think there's 7 stained glass pieces here beside the altar, were made by a local artist and also the superintendent of the Burslem School of Art. His name was Gordon Forsyth. And he trained 50 young people from the parish over a 6-month period in the Burslem School of Art to help make stained glass in the church. There's over 30 pieces of stained glass in the church that were made by Mr. Forsyth and these young people. And this is a good example of them here. And above on the apse roof here, we have a picture of Christ in glory. And that was painted by Mr. Forsyth's daughter, Moira Forsyth. And she's responsible for some other paintings in the church, which we'll have a look at now in a few minutes. And this particular piece here, Monsignor Brown called this Christ in Glory the gem of work completed in the church. And it was painted in her studio in London over a period in the 1930s. And you can see it's very, very beautiful. But unfortunately, as I said earlier on, that there was water ingress in the church, and that's what led to the renovations over the last few years. And you can see here on the top, on the right-hand corner of the painting, some damage to this painting from the water that had come in from the apse roof. So hopefully now with the apse roof fixed, that's the end of the water ingress there, and the painting is saved for posterity. The altar here beside me here, the painting is missing, but Monsignor Brown had prayed to Pope Pius X to help him build the church. And he promised Pius X that when he was canonized, he'd build an altar in the church in his honor. True to his word, when Pope Pius was canonized in the 1950s, Monsignor Brown put in this lovely marble altar here, and Moira Forsyth painted a picture of Pope Pius X. Unfortunately, we took the painting down a couple of years ago because it was getting damaged by the water ingress. And hopefully now with the renovations we fixed, we can put the painting back up shortly in the new year. You can see here, just beside that altar, you can see that this is the lady altar. And just a few words about this particular altar here. It's very ornate, as you can see. I think the most important thing in this altar here is the ceramic centerpiece, which Monsignor Brown recovered in Italy at the end of the war. He travelled a lot to Italy to get artifacts for the church, and this was one of them. And we believe this goes back a long, long time, this ceramic piece. It goes back several hundred years, and I think it looks very, very well on the altar here. The 2 pieces of stained glass are very, very nice in the early morning in the summer because it catches the rays of the morning sun. So when we have weekday masses in this little altar here, it's very beautiful to see the sun come in through those stained glasses. So now let's have a look here at the pulpit. The pulpit again is one of these artifacts that Monsignor Brown got from Italy. Beautiful marble pulpit, and you can see there around the front of the pulpit some beautiful mosaics of various saints. And this pulpit again, like most of the other artifacts in the church, was funded by donations, and some of these were once-off donations from single people, and I think the pulpit was one of those. Beside me here we have the Pietà. Now, just a few words about the Pietà. The statue itself is wooden, probably coming from Italy, and the stand on which it stands is a marble stand, a green marble stand, and that was one of the last things that Monsignor Brown bought for the church in the 1950s, shortly before he died. And I think it's a lovely little chapel. When we're doing our devotions to St. Francis, the stigmata of St. Francis, we come along here and we do the devotions here in this particular shrine here. So now let's have a look down here at some of the other artifacts. Coming up here on the left is a statue of St. Patrick. Of course, Monsignor Brown was Irish, and a lot of Irish were in the parish, so statue of St. Patrick is appropriate. Lovely statue of St. Francis, which is on loan from a nearby parish. And we're now here in the entrance to the church. Of course, originally when the church was built, this glass frontage here on at my left here wouldn't have been here. I think that was put up in the 1960s. We have a lovely book rack here, which is a parish library which we established when we came here first to help spread the faith. A lovely statue of St. Anthony of Padua, which I believe is wooden as well. And that's probably from Italy. We're very much involved in the evangelizing, so we're happy to leave out free leaflets and booklets for people. Of course, we have our own Missio Immaculate and our Air Maria cards, very important to promote Air Maria, doing such a good job. And the pro-life work is very important in the parish, and we're happy to support organisations like the Society for Protection of Unborn Children in England, because they do such a great work in pro-life. And so we've got lots of leaflets here for them. Let's have a look in the baptistry here. You'll see the gates here as we go through. This is iron gates. That was the work of a local man here. When the church was built, he put a set of gates here for the baptistry, and also a set that lead up to the choir. And they're very, very ornate. And we have the original baptismal font, and of course the Easter candle. The Easter candle was repaired a couple of years ago by one of our friars, Friar Leonard, who did a great job restoring the candle holder and painting it all in gold. And the parishioners were very happy with that work. And you can see then just some beautiful stained glass again around the baptistry here of St. John the Baptist. Up on the corner there, you'll see a rope. That was for pulling the bell, but I believe the bell hasn't been pulled in over 40 years because it was a bit precarious up there, and people were afraid, I suppose, that the bell would fall through the roof. Where we are now, there is a basement underneath, and I think there's two or three floors above us, and then you've got the bell. So this is the bell tower and the baptistry. So let's have a look at some of the other artifacts. Here on my left, there's a beautiful statue of Saint Therese, the little flower, again made out of wood, and probably coming from Italy. And over here, we have a beautiful stained glass of St. Francis. I really like this stained glass of St. Francis because it shows the stigmata, which you don't normally see, and the seraphim above. It's not the normal stained glass picture you'd see of St. Francis, but very Franciscan and very endeared to us as Franciscans of the Immaculate, the stigmata of our Holy Father. And this is just one of those stained glasses that was made by the parishioners in the Burslem School of Art under the guidance of Gordon Forsyth. Let's have a look at the stations of the cross, the Via Crucis. These particular stations are wood carvings, and they came from Oberamago in Germany. I'm not sure when they came over, but they're beautiful stained glass, or beautiful stations of the cross. Very, very heavy, and they've survived all these years. So we'll just go back towards the main area. There's a lovely statue of Saint Joseph, of course, patron of the parish here, and one of our patrons in the Franciscans of the Immaculate. So that's a beautiful statue there, on a lovely marble stand. So here we are now in St. Joseph's Chapel. Again, we can use this chapel here for weekday masses when we're not using the Lady Chapel. And this is a painting here of St. Joseph as patron of the Universal Church. I'm not sure if that's by Gordon Forsyth, but it dates back almost to the time of when the church was built. And a beautiful stone altar piece there in front. And then if we go behind here, we see a beautiful painting. This is definitely by Gordon Forsyth, and it's the Crucifixion. And you can see the Roman soldiers down there playing dice. So there you have it. You've seen a lot of what we have here in the chapel. And the stained glass and the paintings, especially the painting above the altar, are very, very famous in England. I mean, the Forsyths are very, very famous in their own right, and Moore Forsyth has paintings in stained glass in many other churches around the country. But I think the real star of the history of this parish is Monsignor Brown, because without Monsignor Brown's enthusiasm and his love for the Mass and his devotion and zeal for souls, I mean, this church wouldn't have been built. And we're very happy to have the custody of this parish for the last 2 years, and we're happy to help restore it. And as I said to you before in the previous blog, not just restore the building physically, but to build up the faith of the people in the parish. So keep us all in your prayers as we continue this work here in Burslem and Stoke-on-Trent. So for Air Maria, I'm Frasalanis. God bless.